Hi, this is Jonathan Steinman, and I grew up in Marin County, where Fred lives. Currently, I spend most of my time between Bridgeton and Cape Elizabeth, Maine, and I'm a member of the Lake Teaser Country Club in Lovell, Maine. A Donald Ross course celebrating its 102nd year. This is Golf Smarter episode number 1004.
A lot of people haven't experienced, hey, let's try a little lighter, let's try a little heavier, let's try a little longer, let's try a little shorter, and are surprised sometimes to go, it's interesting, I actually like a lighter swing weight and a shorter iron feels more consistent and I don't lose any speed. So more than anything, fitting's so important because you can just try different things and tinker and get to understand all the things that can be changed in your equipment and what they're doing. Whether it's like the Wildcat set, like we said, it makes golf easier.
Unlocking the secrets of PXG's new Wildcat set for beginners with Caleb Kroloff.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Green.
Welcome to the Golf Smarter podcast, Caleb.
Hello, Fred.
You doing well today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Wanted to talk about this. So I have recently, and the audience is well aware of this, I have recently become a PXG fan.
Excellent.
Playing the full set. And, not the full set. I'm still waiting on wedges. I'm curious about the wedges. I haven't gotten there yet, but we can do that. But now PXG, what we're going to talk about today, is introducing a new set for a whole different breed of golfer, which I find absolutely fascinating. And want to talk about that. It's the Wildcat set. Can you explain what the Wildcat PXG or the PXG Wildcat set is?
Absolutely. So the Wildcat set is a set of PXG clubs designed more for entry-level beginner players or players with more geared towards slower swing speeds. So the whole idea behind the Wildcat set is to make golf fun, make it easy. Golf's plenty hard as it is, but we want players, especially those who struggle more because it's, whether they're just don't hit it quite as far or quite as high or are new to the game, in the proper setup. 'Cause traditionally, those players don't get fit, don't get the right setup for them. So we want to do everything we can to make golf enjoyable and make it fun.
Do you need to be fit for this set?
No, you don't need to be fit. We recommend always kind of going through it, at least a phone call. We're able to, get through to our fitters on our team that work well over the phone, are able to walk through, even if it's someone who doesn't know a lot about golf, is new to the game, and say, you're this tall, you're around this age range, and make a pretty good recommendation. So you don't need to go in and get fit. You can, and I always highly recommend it. We design golf clubs to be fit around here. It's to the player's benefit always, but if you aren't able to make it in, or for some reason, aren't comfortable doing that, we're able to help over the phone quite a bit, or you can go through online and order as well.
In my many conversations with listeners throughout the years, a lot of people are like, yeah, I'm kind of new to the game and I just don't feel like I'm ready to get fit because my swing isn't there yet. And I have to remind them that no matter how good you get, your swing may never be what you want it to be, right? So they're resistant to get fit. And we've advocated for years to get fit for clubs because that's just going to make you better immediately.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's one of those things, I hear it all the time. I get a lot of people talking to me at social gatherings who go, oh, like, you have an interesting job working in the golf industry. And then they'll say, yeah, I don't need to get fit. I'm not that good, or I don't play enough. And, every tour player gets fit. And the thing is, with tour players, they could pick up a box set and go shoot 65 on any given day. They can adjust to it. Have played my whole life and nowhere near that level. But even, as a single digit, it's harder for me to adjust to equipment when it's not fit right for me. And if it's too long or the wrong lie angle or the wrong flex shafts, wrong weight, it's just making it harder. Like there's no reason not to get fit.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And usually fittings, well, let me ask you this way. Is there a cost to be fit for this set?
Yes. So the way our fitting system works, are generally there's a cost to get fit, but it'll get applied towards purchases. So
Oh, great.
yeah, I mean, if you're gonna buy a set, I think it's absolutely the way to do it.
Absolutely. There, the set itself is unique in the sense that, again, you're looking at new golfers, golfers that are struggling buying used clubs. What about the senior golfer that is just, and you hear it all the time, I'm just not hitting it as far as I used to. I just can't, I can't carry the bag anymore. It's getting too heavy. There's a lot of senior golfers who still love to play, have been playing, have had, at various levels of their game. But now the swing speed, the body is just not holding up. Is this the kind of set that would work for senior golfers as well?
Certainly for some. I'll use my dad as a good example. He's played golf my whole life. He, got more into it when my brothers and I started playing, but he used to hit it really far, and he's gotten up there in age and has slowed down and had to go to lighter shafts, graphite with lighter flexes, and he needs more loft. And a lot of even game improvement irons these days are geared towards distance. And for players who struggle to hit it higher, this is a great option. So it's not necessarily just I'm a new entrant to the game, or I don't play very much, but if it's the right fit for you, it's the right fit. And mainly for players who struggle to hit it high, and a lot of the times that is slower swingers of the golf club.
Why do I think that I'm older than your dad? Has he played this set? Has your dad played with this set?
He hasn't yet, but we'll see. His birthday coming up, so.
Have you talked to him about it? Is he open to it?
A little bit. We talk. He likes to talk shop every once in a while, and he knows talking about golf clubs is my favorite subject. So certainly, whenever he has a question, comes to me and we talk through specs and options. And I think sometimes it's kind of fun to, as more of a my kind of connect to the outside world of more of a lay person when it comes to golf equipment. I think sometimes my understanding of what the general public knows about golf clubs can get skewed by being surrounded by people who are very passionate and have an in-depth knowledge of golf equipment. So, whether it's my parents, my in-laws, my brothers, my friends, it's fun to hear from them and talk through what they know, what they don't know. Should I get fit? Can I adjust things? All that sort of stuff. But it's fun to talk to him about that kind of stuff. And I think he's definitely always excited to try the latest and greatest.
And is he playing any PXG clubs?
Oh yeah, he's playing PXG stuff.
And your brothers?
Yeah, both my brothers are. I've been here for about coming up on 10 years now. So.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So I think at this point I'd be a little hurt
insulting.
If they weren't. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I that happened to me once. I was doing work with Anheuser-Busch for years, back in the 80s and 90s. But I got a call from St. Louis one day with my contact, and he goes, "So what are you up to?" And I said, "I'm just sitting here drinking a beer." He said, "What are you drinking?" And I said, "A Corona." Dead silence on the phone. It was like, oops, that was the wrong answer. Well, we're going to get more into your journey too, about how you got there. But there is competition kind of for what this Wildcat set is. Sticks has an entry-level set of clubs that's very good-looking, nice bag, for people who are just getting started and want something that looks a little bit nicer than just normal set of clubs. Even Costco has a phenomenal set that is not expensive. But I don't see that happening with a lot of the major brands like PXG is. What made you guys decide that this is a portion of the market you wanted to attack?
Well, I think a lot of it comes from Mr. Parsons and his kind of experience in the game. He sees people struggle, and it's funny when he comes in, whether it's a new blade or a new driver. We're working on something in engineering, and he's trying to get prototypes out to his buddies the next day and telling tour players, you have to try this, and we're like, slow down, we need to do some testing first. So he wants to help people and enjoy golf, and I think it's something that he cares quite a bit about. And then just our customer base, we have the advantage of interfacing with our customers quite a bit because of our retail locations. Our fitters talk one-on-one with them, and we get to hear that feedback of what they're looking for. And a lot of the times our customers are saying, hey, this is great, but do you have anything for my, high school age kid, or my, retired parent who is trying to pick up golf, or my wife or my husband, or whatever it is. So I think all of that feedback is so valuable, and that connection and relationship with our customer allows us to kind of hear and understand, and, do a more entry-level set, but do it in our way that is custom fit and that is filled with technology. And, I think the irons and the Wildcat set are a great example of a lot of that technology exists in our mainline flagship products. It's our hollow body fill technology. So it's a very, very high performance, technology packed product for entry level players, which I think is really cool and really unique.
A minute ago, you mentioned that it's filled with technology. How is it that you're able to deliver a set like this that has all that PXG technology behind it and make it affordable for a person who's not necessarily into it just yet, or they're not sure of their commitment to the game?
Well, I think part of it is, so it's a 9-piece set, and that's something that for beginners, the first thing, my mom picked up golf in the last couple of years. The first thing she calls me all the time just to ask questions about, when do I use this club here? When do I use this club here? And it's confusing. And if anything, the beginners really don't need that many clubs. 14 clubs is great if you are a very serious golfer or looking to take advantage of and play better golf. But realistically, your gaps are smaller if you're a slower swinger. You don't necessarily use multiple wedges in the same way a more avid golfer would. So first of all, 9 pieces really is a great way to get into it at a more reasonable price point. And then the other part is just kind of deciding what technologies make sense for this player and not adding things in that don't help. So, we have certain technologies that at an advanced level are really important, and, add to the fine-tuning adjustment, like our weighting system on our flagship products is great. It adds a lot of value to that player. At a entry level, it's an expensive technology to add into clubs, and isn't really going to be as important to that player as getting the right length, getting the right club head, and getting a overall performing quality product. So, choosing the technology, and then also the trickle down of that, where the R&D costs, the development is already done in previous generations, and it's something we can then apply in to all models.
I think it's a fascinating idea, using a 9-piece set, because the goal for every golfer, and one of the first things you have to learn when you're starting to play golf is how far you hit each club. But if you're new to it and you're not really sure, you don't need accuracy in that sense.
We all know the person that pulls their 7-iron from everywhere and hit the only hit, right?
Yes, we do. We play with them regularly.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there's the people who are like, I'm allergic to my 7-iron. Oh God, what am I going to do? So what is the 9-piece set? Let's break it down piece by piece.
So it's available as a full set or individual clubs as well.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about the 9-piece set.
So it's a driver, a fairway wood, which is a 5 wood, And then
well, let's stop a driver first.
Yes.
Because we're going to go over each club. What's unique about this driver for the 9-piece set?
I would say this driver compared to anything else available in our line, it has significantly more loft. So it is 16 degrees of loft.
Whoa.
Players hit it high, and it also has a large face. So the design is, we talk a lot about forgiveness in golf, and when you're early on in golf, it doesn't matter how high the MOI is if you don't catch it on the face. So, we tried to maximize the face size to the best of our ability. So it is a really large faced driver.
That's interesting because I know that people struggle more with the ball that may just trickle off and, like bowling ball, just roll down the fairway. But if they get it in the air, it really doesn't matter how far they hit it. If they get it in the air and they're a new golfer, they're very excited. So
Absolutely.
16 degrees of loft will get the ball in the air.
Absolutely.
Interesting. All right. And when you said it's got a very large face, it does meet the specifications.
Yes, it is
of the
conforming
USGA.
to the USGA rules. So it is.
It's not the size of a fry pan.
No, but it is within the rules relative to other drivers. A lot of the times we, manipulate that shape, whether it's for aerodynamics, for adjusting the characteristics for launch and spin, doing things to make it, for aesthetics to make it look what a better player prefers. It is a bigger hitting surface, which I think most players at this level appreciate.
I agree with you 100%. 100%. All right, now let's move on past the driver. And what's next in the bag?
So fairway wood. So again, with a 9-piece set, you're not going to have multiple fairway woods. Our experience has been, we have customers, even people who've played golf for a long time that are, say a 15 handicap, come in, fitter asks them, when do you hit your fairway wood? Do you tend to hit it off the deck? Do you tend to hit it off the tee? And they say, I don't. It's a scary club. So
you just don't hit it.
They just don't hit it. They sit in the bag because you're supposed to have a fairway wood. And usually a 3-wood. 3-woods are hard to hit.
Right.
So we went straight to a 5-wood. And again, part of that is the more loft aspect of it. It's easier to hit in the air, a little shorter, just overall a little more comfortable to hit. And it's, again, kind of that bigger profile, bigger design. Weight is far back and low. The whole goal is make it easy to make contact and to hit it high.
Yeah. When it's shorter?
The overall length of the club on all the woods are actually a little bit shorter than our standard spec.
You're talking about the shaft.
For talking about shaft length, yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's where when it comes to woods especially, drivers have gotten longer over time, and it's so that people can hit them farther, and shaft technology's come a long way. Those things allow us to do that. But also, when it comes to a beginner or someone who maybe doesn't hit it that far, they're not going to pick up a whole lot of distance by having an extra inch on the length of their driver, or half inch on the length of their driver. They'll pick up a decent amount of consistency by going shorter. So we want to kind of push people in the proper direction or guide them to what's best for them in terms of maybe not max distance when you hit it perfectly, but your average distance and enjoyment of the game.
Right. So I talked to many club fitters and club builders, and they talk about, we're going to put you in a shaft that's about an inch shorter than what is the standard for a driver, let's say, because you're going to have more control. A longer driver, the standard size, is going to get you more distance, but less control. So your dispersion with a shorter shaft is going to be less. And that's what you want.
Absolutely.
And that's what you're doing here. A little bit shorter on the shaft. Yep. But again, what's the loft on the 5-wood?
The 5-wood is at, testing me on my specs here.
Threw him a curveball.
You did. The driver
is 16 degrees.
Is 16, and then the fairway wood. So compared to a standard 5-wood, we have it 18. This, I believe, is a little bit more. It is at
Should we be playing the Jeopardy theme?
I'd be out of time already, huh? So it's at 19.
19 degrees.
On
Okay.
the
Sorry to do
plywood.
that to you.
No, that's all
Keep
right.
that page open.
These are the kind of things I try to keep track of. And sometimes it's, too many numbers running through my head all at once.
Once.
But so 19 degrees aloft, designed to, again, be higher. It's not a like crazy high loft for a fairway wood, but it is kind of for being the only fairway wood in the bag. We want to make sure, if a beginner shows up with a 3-wood that's 15 degrees, it's going to be so hard to hit in the air, and they'll just never be comfortable with it. So it's certainly designed to go up in the air.
Are you familiar with the name Jesse Ortiz? From the club fitter it was originally Orlamar. His dad started Orlamar. So he's a great club fitter, worked for many different companies. I had a fitting with him, and I told him I wanted a 3-wood, and he goes, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to give you a 4-wood, and you can tell people it's a 3-wood because so many people struggle to get a 3-wood off the deck.
Yep.
And a 4-wood's going to help. So a 5-wood's going to definitely make it a bit easier.
Absolutely. And some people, tour players carry 5-woods and 3-woods because they're looking to hit specific distance gaps, and they find fairway woods easier to hit high in the air than some hybrids that are lower lofted, and it's a common club to be used. And again, just like we said earlier with the 9-piece set, players who are new to the game generally don't have a big enough discrepancy in distance from one to another to fill that gap, or to need that extra club to fill a gap. So I think 5-wood sets them up as something that they can use as a tee club and be comfortable hitting off the deck as well.
Okay, out of that 9-piece set, we've gone through driver and a fairway wood. I'm guessing our next stop is a hybrid.
Yes. So
lucky guess. Okay.
So there's one hybrid in the set. It's a 28-degree 6 hybrid.
So it replaces a 6-iron?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and this is something that, going back to, the questions beginners ask and how complicated golf clubs can be when you've been playing them forever, it seems straightforward, but explaining to a beginner the idea that hey, as the number on your irons go down, it's a longer club, it's going to go farther. Okay, we got that. Then when you start adding in, fairway woods and hybrids that have different sets of numbers, and the fairway woods go higher than the irons, and the hybrids are in between, it can be complicated. So that's one of those things we wanted to do to keep it simple.
So we've been through the driver and the fairway wood. My next guess is we're going to a hybrid in the set.
Yes, that's correct. So the next club in the set is going to be a 6 hybrid at 28 degrees aloft.
Okay.
So the idea of going directly to a 6 hybrid, we really wanted to, it goes back to the idea of set composition's kind of complicated if you're new to the nomenclature and all of the verbiage of the golf world. That, okay, as your irons go down in number, they go farther, they get longer. All right. And then hybrids fit between there. And then there's fairway woods, and, having a 3-wood, a 3 hybrid, and a 3 iron, or I guess you could say a 5-wood, a 5 hybrid, and a 5 iron, kind of people get confused.
Sure.
So we wanted to go directly from your 5-wood, and then you have your 6 hybrid, and then it goes to a 7 iron. So keep it as simple as possible, straightforward. People understand, kind of sticks with that idea of, as the number goes down, that's going to be a longer club that goes farther. So 28 degrees of loft. It's a sort of a 6-iron replacement, a little longer than a 6-iron to help promote get up in the air, high lofted club, and then just an overall bigger head than an iron. So it's going to produce more forgiveness, more speed across the face, just sort of more friendly than a long iron is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's what's sounding really interesting about this is my wife really doesn't play golf. She has a set that we bought years ago, that a full set. It was an inexpensive set, and it's too frustrating for her. This is the kind of set that would make her go, "Oh, I can do this. I'll play
Oh,
9 holes with you."
that
I'm
was
like,
absolutely our goal. So I hope that is the case.
"Oh, okay, great. No, she doesn't have a birthday coming up." All right. So now, I guess that hybrid cuts through the rough like butter too, right?
Yeah.
That's the point that's why they called it a rescue club initially, but that was a patented name. But it's a hybrid.
Yeah, a little bit bigger of a club, easier to get kind of down on the ball. I think so much of golf equipment is, when it comes to designing product, is sort of shaping and know-how on our end to help make sure that stuff, turf interaction, how the ball or how the club goes through the rough. Those are sort of not the front and center technologies these days, because it's something that's been around and it's not maybe the sexiest thing to talk about, but it's so important to making sure club soles and designs are created in a way that make it easy for a player to get through, that it doesn't dig into the ground, that it gets through the rough okay. So I think that's one of the key features of, we make product for players on tour, at high level amateurs, for everyday golfers, for beginners. We're putting that same level of detail into all of the shaping. It's not just hey, let's get this design quick out the door, made by someone who's maybe never designed a set of clubs before, and just scale them down based on a picture. I mean, it's really more than the box sets that are out there. It's designed to perform in that way.
Yeah. If we've learned anything over the years and watching golf on television, especially, that really dictates sales. What we see on TV, and I do see a lot of players on the tour that are wearing PXG clothing and even carrying PXG bags. But are they also playing? Is PXG just marketing, the logo for these guys to wear it on tour, or are they playing these clubs?
They're playing our clubs. So, we have 9 players on the PGA Tour right now.
Wow.
That play, wear our hat, carry our bag, and carry, I believe all of them are at least 8 clubs. So generally irons and wedges, and then a mix of some putters, some drivers, some fairwoods. Some of them play all 14 clubs. Some of them don't. There's a mix in there, but we've, it's a resource for us. We get a lot of great feedback from them in terms of our ability to work with them, design and improve. So I think that's really helpful. It is important to mention the players, the equipment that they play it's not different than what's available for consumers necessarily, but it's not necessarily what's best for your average player. Jake Knapp is on our tour staff, and he can swing a driver 130 miles an hour.
Wow.
And what he needs in his clubs is very, very different than what I need, than what, my wife needs, than what our parents need. It's just, it's not the same thing. Most players on tour are using blades because they like the way they go through the rough. They like the look of it from top down, and they like the playability.
Because they can hit them.
Because they can hit them. They hit,
it's not easy to hit a blade.
Of a dime.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are the kind of things where those guys are so good, they can play all sorts of different things. There's a lot of players playing a lot of different clubs in the PGA Tour.
Do you know that if you guys sign a player for the PGA Tour, if there's verbiage in the contract that says you have to play at least X amount of PXG clubs?
Yeah, generally there's, it's not, I'm not intimately familiar with, how our contracts are written.
Sure.
Not my area, but generally, yeah, I think, anyone wearing our hat and our carrying our bag is asked to play at least a minimum number as part of the contract. But most of our players are playing more than that. So it's something where, it's a partnership in a way, where part of it is when we work with them, we have our guys that are on our staff, or our reps that go out there on tour and work with our players and our fitters for the tour players effectively. And they build great relationships with the players. They do an amazing job. They know their games sometimes better than the tour players do. But, they're there to help them through, hey, we have this coming that I think would help you. Or if we have a new, product that's coming, to go, that one's not for you. Stick with what you're doing. It's working good. So I think a lot of it is the relationship as well. But they, it's fun to have sometimes our tour players are excited when they see new products, and I'm excited to go watch them test. And, it certainly helps us to design at a higher level. And just to learn, the way they evaluate it and decide if equipment is good is different than, our robot testing or how we evaluate it. They're looking at shots I've never thought about. So it's kind of cool to pick their brains and see how they think when they are evaluating if something's, working for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we mentioned hitting blades. I got to believe that this Wildcat set, the irons, which I'm assuming are 7, 8, and 9 on your irons, those are probably cavity back clubs.
So yes and no. So it's an interesting thing where, because of our product, the way our product's designed, it's a hollow body. So we're creating a hollow body, and then we weld on a face. So what it is it's a cast body without a face on it. We weld on the face, and it creates this large hollow club. And then we fill it with material with we call it our X-Core 2, something we had in our flagship irons in previous generations. And it is basically allowing the face to flex, but also a lot lighter, so it moves weight to the perimeter, and supporting the face so it doesn't break. So it's kind of our key technology, and I think what we're best known for is that filled hollow body design. We have what I would call a cavity back in the Wildcat irons, but it's actually filled with an insert that's a lightweight insert there, so it kind of has a more flush, kind of sleek design. And I think it looks really, really good. It provides really great feel compared to, with cavity backs and bigger clubs. A lot of the times our concern is we want to make sure it looks good. We want to make sure it feels good, because especially beginner sets, larger oversized clubs, they can, have a bad feel to them. Like that's what some players like about blades or smaller clubs is they feel more solid when you hit them good. And, we take so much pride in kind of PXG having its own specific feel and it being different than what's out there in the industry that, we want to make sure even on the Wildcat set, it is considered like reaching our level of minimum of, great feel and sound. So it is and it isn't a cavity back. It's a little bit more different of a construction.
Interesting. That's unique. And I'm playing the 311s, 0311.
Yep.
Right, XP. And is that the filled hollow body design as well? Or,
yeah.
So it's the same design as your main clubs.
Yeah. So our flagship, Gen 7 irons are a forged body. We have a face that's welded on, and then it's filled with a polymer as well. And so it's the overall construction's the same. So that's where I'm saying the Wildcats have a lot more technology in them than any other beginner set out there that I know of. They're really designed to promote that great sound and feel, as well as a lot of forgiveness, and just, be a really high performing product for that player.
Now this set, there's 3 clubs left in this 9-piece set. We've been through driver, fairway wood, hybrid, the 3 iron, 7, 8, and 9. And some wedge makers consider a 9 like a wedge. But you have 2 wedges and the putter left.
Yes. So we have a pitching wedge and a sand wedge. And those are the same constructions as the irons. So, I personally consider them part of the iron set.
Okay.
But where wedges have just like the hybrid fairway wood concept, wedges have gotten complicated, especially to players who are new to the game. Having a lob wedge, a sand wedge, and a gap wedge, and a pitching wedge.
Yeah,
it's confusing. When do I hit what from where? They probably don't have distance gapping issues around their wedges.
And for beginners, the lob wedge is probably the hardest club to hit.
Yeah. I mean, beginners
Properly.
aren't hitting high, soft shots, and they're not trying to open faces. They're, trying to pitch and chip it onto the green and, are happy with that. So I think that's
they're
where.
not trying to get it to stop.
Exactly. So, the wedges have the same technology as the irons. So for full swings with your wedges, you get that same level of forgiveness, the same, wide sole for great turf interaction to prevent, the club from digging into the ground. But then kind of simplicity in, pitching wedge, and then you have your sand wedge that you can use for your, high, soft pitch shots.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And is there a lot of bounce on that sand wedge?
Yeah, bounce is one of those funny things where when you get into it with people who are too in the know about it, we all have our thoughts on how the world sees bounce. So it's a really wide sole. So
is that a big debate going on when you guys are sitting around a table, the designers going?
It's more a frustration of people's understanding of bounce, because clubs are listed with effective bounce generally. So there's bounce angle, which is truly the angle the sole, like the leading edge, is making with the ground, as like the sole is going to the contact point on the sole. And so on some clubs, it's listed as a really low number, and you can look at a wedge and go, I can tell you there's more bounce on there than that. And then you can look at one that's, listed as a really low number because that angle is low, but because the sole is so wide, it plays effectively like there is more bounce. So we talk about it in effective bounce of it's a combination of multiple aspects that affect how high off the ground the leading edge gets. And so on this set, it's designed to be very playable, more bounce, which is going to lead to, more forgiveness when it comes to, when you're chipping, you're not putting the leading edge in the ground, helpful in the bunker. And that wide sole kind of protects you. The beginners aren't looking for the versatility generally that, better players are opening up the face and don't want the leading edge to rise up too much. And they're looking to, try to hit all sorts of different shots. Well, most people that would be, this set is geared towards are looking to make solid contact consistently when they chip the ball. So it's designed in a kind of a significant amount of bounce, but not too much that the leading edge is raising up too high that you kind of are going to skull the ball. But with ideal for making consistent contact, I would say.
Great. That's the whole idea.
Yeah. Consistency and making it easy.
Yeah. So go back to your chart on your screen. The degrees of loft between the 7 and the 8 and the 9, is it consistent when we get to the pitching and the sand wedge?
Let's see here. So there's about it spreads out a little more in the sand and lob wedge. So it's 5 degrees between from the 7 through 9. And then on the wedges, it goes to 6 degree gaps. So, So not a huge difference. And they're designed to be used as full swing clubs as well. That's not just, these are short game specific. And so that's for gapping purposes to kind of make sure you're covered at all distances and you can learn those distances. And then also, to make sure that they are relatively high. I would say these lofts are much more traditional in loft, what I'd say, compared to, a lot of sets these days, especially, distance geared irons are a lot stronger lofted, but these lofts are a lot weaker, more traditional to help players hit it high in the air.
Yeah. And then you guys have recently come out with the Allen putter, named after Mr. Parsons' brother. And that is to put your entry into this zero torque revolution that's going on, started by Lab Golf and having a tremendous amount of success. And you guys were one of the first companies to come out publicly and say, yeah, we've got a zero torque putter. The Allen putter. And we can talk more about that, but let's finish off this Wildcat set and the putter that you have in that bag.
Yeah, so the putter that comes with the Wildcat set is called the Blackhawk. It is a mallet-style putter, has a long alignment line, has a lot of perimeter weighting. So whenever we talk about perimeter weighting in golf, we're talking about adding forgiveness, and that means on mishits, the club wants to stay straighter, it doesn't want to rotate as much, and it doesn't lose as much speed off the face. So more consistent on mishits, which as a beginner on putting is generally something that's more common than with uh, more seasoned players. So it's a very high forgiveness model. And then the alignment line is very long from front to back. The idea, everything we've done, all of our research says, longer the alignment line, the easier it is to line up. It's really simple. So,
Really?
for that
Fascinating.
player type who, a lot of players, there's a lot of blades out there on the PGA Tour. Certain players just like to look at different things. Certain players like small putters, like putters without alignment lines, all sorts of things. I guess the alignment line that fits your eye that is the longest is the best for you would be my comment. But for players who don't necessarily have a preference yet, who haven't used a blade for years, I think the easiest thing to line up is going to be a nice big long line. So there's a lot of perimeter weighting. And then the other nice feature on the bottom of these, there's a ball pickup pocket, which is kind of nice for a mallet to
the
be able
pickup
to snap it, pick it right up, move on. So it's a fun thing that I personally really enjoy. There's a lot of players who don't want a putter that can't pick up a ball.
Absolutely.
And it's something that's certainly a nice to have, and it's right in the center of the club where we're trying to remove mass from anyway. So it's a great spot to take mass out and provide that as well.
All right, Caleb, just love the concept that you guys got going with the Wildcat set and who it's for and who it's directed to. But I want to make a little bit of a left turn here because there's another new club that you guys have recently announced that really has my interest. Not that I don't love my PXG driver. I do like it. I still get my friends going, whoa, when I hit one nicely off the tee. But you have joined, again, we talked about a revolution earlier. More and more people are bringing back a mini driver. I guess that would be a 2-wood in the old days. But you guys have just introduced one, the Secret Weapon Mini Driver. And I'm sure that name didn't come out of your office. But tell me about your involvement with that and why we need to seriously consider a mini driver these days.
So, my role here at PXG, I'm the director of our Metalwoods R&D. So I do club design, I do the majority of our driver design, and then my team works through all the ferrowoods and hybrids as well. So we were responsible for the Secret Weapon, and it's something that we jumped on that we weren't really sure. It was more of a research project at the time based on seeing kind of a couple tour players that were playing them and interested in them, of, hey, maybe this is something to look at. And the idea came as, there have been 2-woods, we've had 2-woods before, but a true mini driver that's almost, I think of it as a fairway wood, like a 3-wood replacement that is more geared towards hitting off the tee. A lot of, like I said, when it comes to the Wildcat set, a lot of players come in for fittings and we go, hey, how do you use your fairway wood? Do you hit your 3-wood more off the tee? Do you hit it off the deck? And they go, oh, I never hit it off the deck. So in that case, it's like, hey, here's something that's more designed for being used off the deck. And I think the way we fit customers and reach customers with fitters can kind of talk you through the advantages and disadvantages and how you would use it in your game. It lends itself well to things that aren't as traditionally part of a golf bag. It's a little different. We've seen a ton of them on the PGA Tour, and part of that is, again, PGA Tour players are built differently. They hit it so far that, we have Jake Knapp, who plays our Secret Weapon on tour, and he hits his Secret Weapon 300 yards plus. So it's like, he's like, oh yeah, I hit it. He hits it 10 times around sometimes, and it's off of tees. And it's like he hasn't had a fairway wood into a green in, I don't know, since, I don't know, he turned 15. Like it's not, he doesn't need a 3-wood that he can hit off the deck. So he wants something that is designed for off the tee, that he feels comfortable, and the kind of the bigger head of the mini driver provides more distance off the tee, a deeper face, and then just more forgiveness on mishits too.
Okay, so for the recreational golfer who doesn't hit anything 300 yards except 2 shots, why would I want to consider having a mini driver to replace my 3-wood?
I would say it's for players who like to use a fairway wood or something other than a driver off a tee. It's shorter than a driver, so we again, it's custom fit, so you can adjust length, but we have it stock at 43 3/4 inches. It's kind of a low lofted fairway wood at 13 degrees. It's just, when you're going, ooh, this is a tight par 4, but I still kind of have to hit it a decent ways. I think it's a great option to have something a little shorter in terms of the club length, with a little more loft, to be able to say, I can be confident in hitting this fairway. And it is something, we worked with our tour players to make sure it was something in a pinch they can hit off the deck too. So it's not like a club it's not like hitting driver off the deck. It's, fairway woods in general, the 3-woods can be hard to hit from fairway. And, this is, I would say, significantly easier to hit off the tee than a 3-wood, but maybe similar off the fairway. So for players who maybe struggle with a fairway wood, maybe who want to, try something different to improve their driving game and have something they hit a little farther off the tee than a 3-wood, but a little more consistent than a driver, it's a great option.
What's the degree of loft on the mini driver?
So it's 13 degrees and it's adjustable. So you can go up or down 1.5 degrees. So 11.5 to 14.5.
Adjustable. And do you... I've never wanted to mess with my clubs. It's like, I'll adjust it because today I'm hitting it's like that to me is a recipe for disaster. Do you recommend that once you have your fitting and you guys say, you know what, this is adjustable, but we're going to put you at 14 degrees, leave it alone? If you're having a bad day, just come back tomorrow. What do you suggest to people who want to make those adjustments on their own?
It depends on the person. I know people like me, I could say leave it, but I tinker with mine all the time. So,
but you're a club maker, man.
Yeah,
you get it.
If you know what's going on, if you have like an understanding of, hey, I think I need more spin, or I need less spin, or I'm hitting it too high or too low, absolutely. Different areas, maybe you're going to play at altitude, you can use a little more loft, things like that are absolutely reasons to adjust them. We try to make it very simple, so worst case, you can adjust it right back. But the other benefit is you can always just, call your fitter, talk to your fitter, they'll work through it. So, call up PXG, talk to our player support team. They can talk you through, what you're dealing with. And if you're going, hey, I'm hitting it too low, here's a couple of options in terms of adjustability we can try to help. You can go into a store, they can get you on a monitor, we can kind of help get you sorted out. So that adjustability is helpful. If you don't know how to adjust it, we have resources in terms of calling in, or, some of the content we release on YouTube and things like that will help walk you through it if you want to educate yourself on it. I think it's fun to toy around with personally. And some people say, hey,
you're a golf nerd.
I am a golf nerd, absolutely. There's some people out there who, the benefit, like the adjustability is still a benefit, but it's a benefit in the fitting environment. And once it's set, leave it. And if that's you, that's fine too. But I think it still provides a lot of value for that player, because they are able to dial in exactly, loft and CG location that they wouldn't be able to get with a driver that didn't have that adjustability. But
Fascinating. Tell me about the fitting process that goes on for the average consumer, and whether it's for, we're not determining if they want to get the Wildcat set or a full set. What is the fitting process, and how is it determined what would be best for that person?
Fittings can be very different depending on who comes in, your ability, It's going to start with the same kind of static measurement concept, not a firm, we're not measuring your actual height, but talking through it. Hey, how tall are you? How long you've been playing? How often do you play? It's a conversation with the fitter as you get warmed up. They're trying to figure out what you're looking for, what you struggle with, what areas, you are looking for improvement in, what you've been playing, things like that to kind of get to know you better as a player. They'll take a look. If you bring in your old set, great. If not, that's fine too. But kind of get you started. If you're, we do full bag fittings that are quite a while. But in terms of, it's a lot of swings. So be ready for a little bit of a workout. Not a lot of us are used to hitting that many balls. But our goal is really to, our fitter is going to try to get you into the proper model, proper shaft, length, lie angle, weight, and as few swings as possible, because I think a lot of people don't have enough swings. We all, it takes a while to warm up. Once you are in that warm zone, you have so many good swings before you start going downhill. So our goal is always to get the proper club to you as quickly as possible to the fitting process. We do that in a few ways. One way is we have an internal fitting tool we use, which is how our phone team operates. If you call in and want to get fit, they'll walk through some questions, and it'll, based on all the fittings we've done in the past, all that data, we use that to come up with a recommendation. And then we'll use that in our, if you come in as person as well, to get to a starting point. So to go, hey, here's 3 shafts and a model club and a length and a lie it recommends. We can adjust from that. That isn't gospel, but it's a good starting point. It's usually pretty close. So we'll do that, and then we can kind of talk through and try a few different things. So, a lot of people haven't experienced the, hey, let's try a little lighter, let's try a little heavier, let's try a little longer, let's try a little shorter. And are surprised sometimes to go, I've played stock my whole life. It's interesting. I actually like a lighter swing weight, and a shorter iron feels more consistent, and I don't lose any speed, or whatever the configuration is. So more than anything, fitting's so important because you can just try different things and tinker and get to understand, what all the things that can be changed in your equipment and what they're doing, and just whether it's like the Wildcat stat, like we said, or up to tour players, it makes golf easier. It just being in the proper lie angle and the proper length makes it easier and makes solid contact, and those things are just so important.
Absolutely. Well, and that's what we just heard from the director of Metal Woods R&D, Caleb Kroloff. Thank you so much for your time, for your explanation, and the introduction to this fascinating set. If somebody's looking to get somebody into golf, you can direct them towards these clubs. If there's, if you're a senior and you're looking to, you don't need to carry that many clubs because you're not that accurate, you might want to look into this as well. There's lots of reasons to look into it. And again, I've been enjoying I'm not going to make this. That just made it the infomercial. But Caleb, thanks so much for your time and your information. It's fascinating. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.